On May 10th, 2026, Red River Unitarian Universalist Church proudly hosted the Reverend Dr. Mark Y.A. Davies, speaking on income inequality. Of his service, Mark says, "Democracy cannot survive increasing income inequality. As the gap between the rich and poor widens, so does the inequality in their political power and participation, with fewer and fewer people controlling our economic and political process." Welcome from Red River Unitarian Universalist. Thank you for joining us. The religion we practice in this church is centered in the here and now, rather than the hereafter. It is more of a thinking kind of religion than a believing kind. It is governed more by reason than by tradition, more concerned with the present than the past. It is concerned with getting the most out of life, with living wisely and well. A major aim for us is continually expanding our understanding of life and ourselves. This church is a community of people who share in the free and open search for a level of understanding that will enable us to be more fully and effectively alive. The church does not tell us what we must believe. It stimulates us to think. It supports us in our search. You are welcome to join us. Our centering value is love, with transformation, generosity, equity, interdependence, justice, and pluralism.
With thankful hearts, we have come together this morning to celebrate this day, to bask in the warmth of this community, to share with friends the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hopes for a better future. We join together this morning, as always, to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need that we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived, in questioning and in conversation, in compassion and in service, in gratitude and in joy, in companionship and in love. It is good to be together this morning. At this time, we'll hear our prelude. We also have an opportunity to light our candles of community, which you find on the table to my right. You can light a candle for a joy or a concern, to remember someone, or simply to bring more light into our space. We light this chalice to celebrate the inherent worth and dignity of every person, to reaffirm the historic pledge of liberal religion to seek that justice which transcends mere legality and moves towards the resolution of true equality, and to share that love which is ultimately beyond even our cherished reason, that love which unites us. Let's join together in the spoken affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, and to help one another. We light this peace candle to remind us of all the places in the world where there is no peace. Join me in the words now on the screen. Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. And now we not only have one UU snippet, we have two UU snippets with Marla.
They skipped one. So we're catching up. Our first UU snippet this morning is the board, our shared leadership and how we work together. At our core, we practice congregational polity. Now that's a fancy way of saying that the buck stops here with all of us, the congregation. Congregation members hold the ultimate vision and the final word. Of course, we all know that if we tried to vote on every single light bulb or paperclip, we'd never get home. To keep things moving, we entrust a board to act on our behalf. These 5 dedicated people, our president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and trustee at large, are elected by us in a rotating cycle every year at our spring congregational meeting. Also serving on the board is the past president as a non-voting board member. Think of the board as our head of administration. On behalf of all of us, they take care of our property, manage our business affairs, and most importantly, keep us all in the loop about what's happening. They aren't just managers, though. We look to them to be our fiduciary stewards. They manage our resources with a deep commitment to our mission and vision. They're our spiritual leaders. They lead with self-awareness and humility, entering every big decision with a spirit of discernment. They're our strategic thinkers. They look at our church as a living, breathing system, helping us plan for the future with healthy feedback loops. And they are our change agents. When times get a little disruptive or we need to transform, they are the savvy guides who help us navigate that change together. If you're curious about the specific duties of each role or want to read the bylaws and our policies and procedures, we've made them easy to find. Visit our website. At the very top, look under the information menu, it's top right corner, and select our governance. The second UU snippet, so we can stay on schedule, is the Committee on Ministry, strengthening our shared spirit. Think of the Committee on Ministry, COM for short, the COM, as the internal think tank for Red River UU. Their goal is simply to make sure everything in the church is done in the church, from our programs to our daily interactions, actually lines up with our stated mission and vision. The COM focuses on three main areas. Accessing our vitality. They look at how our goals are being met and gather feedback from you as the congregation to see how our ministries are truly felt by the congregation. They support the shared ministry. They believe ministry isn't just for the minister. And in our case, the minister isn't included until we have the funds to hire one. It's a dance between the lay leaders and all of you. They also check the healthy relationships. They act as facilitators. If there's friction, whether between members, staff, or leadership, they're here to help engage that conflict in a healthy way and keep our connections strong. In short, the COM meets monthly to check the pulse of the church, ensuring Red River UU remains healthy, vibrant, and mission-driven. It's a home for everyone. They report back to the board on a regular basis and the congregation every May to keep us all moving forward together.
Our opening thought this morning comes from Kurt Vonnegut from God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. He writes, I think it's terrible the way people don't share things in this country. I think it's a heartless government that will let one baby be born owning a big piece of the country, the way I was born, and let another baby be born without owning anything. The least a government could do, it seems to me, is to divide things up fairly among the babies.
There is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. Oh, the rich man boasts and brags, while the poor man goes in rags. There is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. Too much cotton in our sacks, so we have none on our backs. There is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. Too much groceries on the shelves, so we have none for ourselves. There is mean things happening in this land. Oh, there is mean things happening in this land. There is mean things happening in this land. Oh, the rich man boasts and brags, while the poor man goes in rags. There is mean things happening in this land.
I just have to note that I heard Kurt Vonnegut speak on my campus at OCU, and my dad heard Pete Seeger sing on his campus at OU back in the 1950s. And another reading we have in a few moments is another person who was on our campus. So love the connection between the campuses and some of these readings and songs. Our next reading comes from someone that did not speak on my campus, Jessica Bruder from Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century. She writes, the most widely accepted measure for calculating income inequality is a century-old formula called the Gini coefficient. It's a gold standard for economists around the globe, along with the World Bank, the CIA, and the Paris-based Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. What it reveals is startling. Today, the United States has the most unequal society of all developed nations. America's level of inequality is comparable to that of Russia, China, Argentina, and the war-torn Democratic Republic of the Congo. For our meditation this morning, we'll be hearing the words from Margaret Weiss, Prayer for Weary Times. So let's take a moment to get as comfortable as we can. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a moment to breathe deeply, breathing in and out. In and out. Holy One, our hearts are weary, are tired, and are breaking. Our hearts are stretching as they are pulled and pushed, bruised and battered by all the suffering and brokenness and pain. Our ears are ringing with harsh words, with yelling, with gunfire that echoes in our streets and takes lives of innocents without cause. They're ringing with the affirmation that Black Lives Matter again and again until this idea is manifested in our legislation, our communities, and our hearts. We have heard stories of equality and justice, but our eyes burn from the instances of inequality, racism, and injustice that illustrate we are still far from where we hope to be. Our mouths speak words of hope, of courage, and of truth. And at times we find that words do no justice. The brokenness feels too big. Our bodies, our collective bodies, built for lifting one another up and built for holding each other in love, they're being used against one another as weapons, and the ammunition is hatred and fear. Spirit of life and love, in this time of dissonance, in this holy time of urgency to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, help us to find our voice. Help us to see beyond this brokenness to a time of healing and true community. Help us to remember that the only journey toward healing is one that is paved through humility, acceptance of responsibility, and counteracting complacency. Ours is not a solitary journey, but one taken together, bolstered by deep listening and deeply rooted in love. May we find the strength needed for the journey here, in this place, and in all places where people gather for love, for humanity, and for justice. Our next reading is from Matthew Desmond's Poverty by America. Desmond writes, "Let's call it the scarcity diversion. Here's the playbook. First, allow elites to hoard a resource like money or land. Second, pretend that arrangement is natural, unavoidable, or better yet, ignore it altogether. Third, attempt to address social problems caused by the resource hoarding only with the scarce resources left over. So instead of making the rich pay all their taxes, for instance, design a welfare state around the paltry budget you are left with when they don't. Fourth, fail. Fail to drive down the poverty rate, fail to build more affordable housing. Fifth, claim this is the best we can do. Preface your comments by saying, in a world of scarce resources, blame government programs, blame capitalism, blame the other political party, blame immigrants, blame anyone you can except those who most deserve it. Gaslighting is not too strong a phrase to describe such pretense."
When the president talks to God, are the conversations brief or long? Does he ask to rape our women's rights and send poor farm kids off to die? Does God suggest an oil hike when the president talks to God? When the president talks to God, are the consonants all hard or soft? Is he resolute all down the line? Is every issue black or white? Does what God say ever change his mind when the president talks to God? When the president talks to God, does he fake that drawl or merely nod? Agree which convicts should be killed, where prisons should be built and filled, which voter fraud must be concealed when the president talks to God. When the president talks to God, I wonder which one plays the better cop. We should find some jobs, the ghetto's broke. No, they're lazy, George, I say we don't. Just give them more liquor stores and dirty coke. That's what God recommends. When the president talks to God, do they drink near beer and go play golf, while they pick which countries to invade, which Muslim souls still can be saved? I guess God just calls a spade when the president talks to God. When the president talks to God, does he ever think that maybe he's not? That voice is just inside his head when he kneels next to the presidential bed? Does he ever smell his own bullshit when the president talks to God? I doubt it. I doubt it.
Democracy cannot survive increasing income inequality. As the gap between the rich and the poor widens, so does inequality in their political power and in their political participation, with fewer and fewer people controlling our economic and our political processes, which are intimately connected with each other. We've been here before in many ways. In the 1890s, a long time ago, a time that we refer to as the Gilded Age, a time that our current president looks to with fondness. He found the Gilded Age to be one of the best times in the history of the United States, he said. It was a time of exorbitant wealth concentrated in the hands of a few. It was a time of great power, the 1890s were, for oligarchs like John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, or as some pronounce it, Carnegie, Jay Gould, and J.P. Morgan. Those were four of the wealthiest oligarchs of that time in the Gilded Age of the 1890s. But President Theodore Roosevelt, unlike many politicians of his time, unlike most politicians of his time, was actually committed to working against extreme wealth inequality. And he actually sought to limit corporate power and increase economic competition. And his response to the Gilded Age was to use antitrust laws that had been passed before he became president. He actually implemented them and attempted to break up monopolies that had formed. And this had the effect, not a huge effect, but some effect, of lessening income inequality. Now, income inequality still existed, and it became even more exacerbated again in the 1920s and early 30s. But during the time of FDR, the New Deal that was enacted reinforced some of the efforts of the other Roosevelt to reduce income inequality in the United States. And then a few decades later, LBJ's Great Society aspired to reduce income inequality even more. But tragically, many of the gains that were made to decrease income inequality have been lost. They've been lost, and we now find ourselves in what I think we should begin to call the 21st century Gilded Age. The minimum wage in 1965 was twice as much as it is today. In 1960s, CEOs were making only 20 times the amount of money made by their workers, which is still quite a few many times over what the workers were making. Today, in the United States, CEOs are making over 200 times what their workers are making. The Rockefellers, Carnegies, Morgans, and Goulds have been replaced by Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellison, Buffett, and Gates. Before there was Project 2025, something that we all are now sadly aware of, there was the Powell Memo of 1971, the memo that Lewis Powell wrote outlining ways for corporate power to come back in the United States just a few months before he was nominated to become a Supreme Court Justice by Richard Nixon. He wrote this memo that really is a blueprint for what's been happening over the past 55 years. If you want to understand why the United States has devolved so completely into the corporate oligarchy we are experiencing today, the Powell Memo is essential reading. It's out there, easy to find on the internet. A society that has a significant number of persons who are living in poverty or who are experiencing a context of extreme wealth inequality, we see clearly is prone to autocracy. Vibrant democratic societies in which persons are happy and have their basic needs being met well are much less likely to drift towards autocracy than societies that find themselves in a situation of systemic economic injustice, extreme inequality, and perpetual poverty, the context in which we find ourselves today. Over the past century, many of the world's most influential autocrats took advantage of the despair and hopelessness in people brought on by woeful economic conditions. It's not an accident that totalitarian communists came to power through revolution in countries around the world that were experiencing extreme poverty and extreme wealth inequality. It's also not an accident that ultranationalists and fascists came to power in places like Germany, Italy, and Japan during a deep global depression prior to World War II. Persons and countries that are experiencing desperate economic conditions are prone to take desperate and even extreme political measures. And autocrats are more than willing to take advantage of the people's desperation to gain, maintain, and expand their power. Prior to the New Deal in the United States, there were many who were exploring these extremes that I just mentioned. There were many who were exploring the extremes of communism on the left and fascism on the right. The economic stability that was gained by the New Deal reforms to those unjust and unregulated capitalistic structures before, those coupled with the construction of a social safety net actually helped the United States become one of the world leaders in the fight against fascism in World War II, rather than going down an America First fascist path, which many wanted to do in the 1930s, including J.P. Morgan, one of those persons that was in that elite group of oligarchs at that time. It also kept the United States at that time from pivoting towards totalitarian forms of socialism like we find in the Soviet Union, China, and Cuba. But over the last 46 years, many of the economic reforms, regulations, and safety nets of the New Deal of the 1930s and the Great Society of the 1960s have given way to things like trickle-down economics and anti-regulation and anti-unions and anti-environmental measures. It's not surprising then that the last 46 years have also been a time of growing wealth inequality and economic and environmental injustice. It's also not surprising that much like the 1930s, we see many persons in the United States not just flirting with extreme measures, but taking extreme measures, both on the left sometimes with anarchy of some on the left, but more so now what we're seeing is Christian nationalism of the extreme right and the autocracy of the extreme right. Whether we go further down the path of autocracy in the United States will be determined in large part by how well we assess the underlying conditions of poverty, how well we address these underlying conditions of poverty, wealth inequality, and economic and environmental injustice. If we allow these underlying conditions to worsen even more and allow the situation to become even more desperate, then we are setting the stage even more for autocracy in the present and the future. And the Trumps and other autocrats in the world will be emboldened to implement their extreme autocratic measures as they promise to fix all of our problems. Fortunately for the United States and for the rest of the world, we know that there are models out there, that we don't have to go down the autocratic path. There are models out there for more vibrant democracy, for more just economic practices and processes. And we see those in the social democracies that are found in places like the Nordic countries and a handful of other countries around the world that represent the most full and robust democracies in the world. They're also the happiest places to live. They're the places where people are flourishing more than any other place in the world. They have better education, they have better health, they have less corruption, they have less economic injustice, more ecological sustainability, they have a more full and vibrant democracy that addresses very openly and overtly wealth inequality and provides more equality of opportunity as the answer, not autocracy. The evidence is clear, and we're experiencing it right now, both sadly and tragically, that autocrats do not fix our problems, but rather autocrats exacerbate our problems. They take advantage of our problems for their own well-being, for their own power. More democracy in the world, not less, is the key to our future. It's the key to a more just, peaceful, participatory, and sustainable future. In the struggle between democracy and autocracy, the well-being of both people and the planet depends on democracy winning. If democracy does not win, the future of our planet and all the people on it are in great peril. But democracy winning depends on reducing income inequality. Democracy winning depends on reducing income inequality. Speaking of money, at this time we have an opportunity to give. You can give at the table You can also give online. Hear these words for our benediction. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace. And at this time, we'll extinguish our chalices. We extinguish these flames, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.